Is it just me, or did the off-season go really, really fast this year? Like, way faster than it's gone in any other year. I don't know if we were just more deranged, so there was more to do, and it just, like, whizzed by or what. It feels like yesterday that we were all arguing with each other about Finland and Sweden and who should have won and how, oh, was the result fair? And all. No, we're still doing that. And we can't get over anything because we're Euro fans. Now, in the spirit of not being able to get over anything, I would like to pay tribute to our other obsession as Euro fans, which is ranking literally everything in sight. So I'm going to do a tier list video and we're going to go through all the 2023 national finals, just the 2023 editions. So I'm not talking about like the overall merits of a national final, specifically the 2023 edition, how I would change it. We're going to rank it from S tier through to D tier, and I will put the link in the description if you want to make your own tier list. Since you're here, this is the first video I have ever made, so if you could drop a like and subscribe, that would be so appreciated. We've got a few videos coming up. We're going to be talking about Finland in a few weeks. Actually, we're going to be talking about why I think Finland is going to win Eurovision in the next 5 years. But with all that in mind, there's a lot of national finals to get through. There is a lot of shows, and I've had to do a lot of listening to make this video possible. So let's just get straight to it. So let's start with Vidbir. Vidbir was an amazing show, and the Ukrainian broadcaster did such a good job to even get it on, given the circumstances. I liked the songs. I thought they were good. I thought it was a strong set, but for me, it wasn't absolute top level. So for me, they're going straight into A tier on the basis that it's amazing you put the show on in a train station of all places. You still had great songs like Heart of Steel. You had Jerry Heil out of her vegan era into a slightly more serious theme. So top job, but it's not S tier for me this year. Okay, next, Belgium Euro song. Now, I love Gustav. We all love Gustav. But we have to say RIP because this national final is already dead. Belgium is doing that stupid thing where it changes broadcaster every year. That aside, I really like the format of this national final. And I think they did a lot of things really nicely. I think having that little camp where each artist brought 2 songs and then took advice from their fellow competitors on which song would be best to perform live was a really nice touch. I also think, Shireen, Galadrago, Gustav, you had these amazing songs and these really great artists who I think we could see again at Eurovision in the future. That is great. However, the lack of continuity is frustrating, losing it from year to year. I think also the song quality, for me personally, dropped off after those few. I don't think it was as strong as Vidbir, for example. And some of the live performances were, for me, maybe not as good as I'd hoped for. Same when it comes to staging, which was maybe a little odd in some cases. For me, it's going into B tier. That said, I think Belgium should have kept it. And I hope it comes back next year when we go back to the other broadcaster. Okay, ESCZ, Czech Republic. First, well done for doing a national final on a budget of about 12p. That was impressive. But I got to ask one question. What was with the host who was constantly whispering to us like this? It was really creepy. It's creepy when I do it. It was creepy when they did it. Please never do it again. Other than that, the song quality, not so sure. Vesna were great, but none of the live performances really went off. I thought a lot of the songs were kind of anticlimactic, and it felt like a bit of a foregone conclusion. So I've got to say, the way they organized it, given the constraints, was really, really cool. Getting the international voters in, actually running a national final, but the results was really weird. The host was odd. I thought the song quality wasn't great. To keep it for me, but it's going in C tier because I think there is a lot of things that could be improved. At the same time, it's really exciting and there is a lot more to come from them. Festivali Kengaj. I have one question, Albania. What are you putting in the water there? Why is everyone so good at singing? Like, everyone just has pipes. And like, they could be singing the most mid-ballad ever, and most of them were, and they still sound amazing because everyone's just such a good singer. Now, that's great. Here's the problem. They're still all mid-ballads, and I still don't like it. I'm sorry. It's just mid-ballad, mid-ballad, mid-ballad. It's like nothing burger songs over and over and over again. They try to save it with the voices, but it just produces, in my opinion, a show that's not very interesting. I am maybe still not over what they did to Metana a few years ago. I just find this show really dull. I would like to see a bit more creativity, a bit more difference in the music that comes in. So great job on the voices, but that has nothing to do with the way the national final is run, so it's getting another C tier from me. Okay, so the Serbian national final has been for me one of my like surprise favorites for the past couple of years. I found myself watching it live by accident, both this year and last year, and I was pretty impressed. Firstly, I think the top three from last year was unbelievable. To be honest, I'll tell you right now, it would be an A tier if this was last year, but it's not. I still really like Luke Black, and obviously justice for Philip Baloch, please come back. I think they need to, maybe the quality wasn't quite there this year. It didn't help that the televote was clearly rigged as well. Whether that was by the artist or someone else, who knows, but there was something not right there. I thought the right song won, and it's really good that this show is rewarding like unusual music, but I would like to see a spread of like more quality across the board, because for me, once you get outside of those top songs, it really drops off fast. So it's a B tier for me, but I think they're on the right lines. Keep it as it is for next year. Okay, so The Voice Georgia. No one is watching this. Nobody. I don't know. Do you know anyone who watched The Voice Georgia? I didn't. I went back and I listened to some of the artists perform, but it's still The Voice. How am I meant to analyze this? It's just The Voice. You all know the format. I know the format. They get to the end and Iru won, and then she was the act. So it automatically gets a D tier. I'm going to be straight up, because it's just The Voice and there's nothing to analyze, and it's the most uncreative format ever. I just want to take this opportunity to say justice for Iru. You were robbed. Bring her back and give her proper staging next time. Okay, Georgia? That's all. I've just realised that my headphones have been in for every single take I've done, but this is already the 10th national final that I've talked about or something in this video, so you're just going to have to deal with it. Sorry. With that, Melodifestivalen. I'm not going to sit here and deny that Melodifestivalen is great, because it is. And they have a really good setup. The format works. Great results every year. They have good songs every year. But the one thing I just want to say is that it's so predictable, because the same styles of songs win every year. I do not need to hear any more pop songs written by Jimmy Joker Thornfelt or Joy and Linnea Deb. Like, it's always the same 4 songwriters. Thomas Gison has wreaked enough havoc in my life. Like, I just want Sweden, and to be clear, they're going in A tier. I'll say that now, because it's Melodifestivalen and it works and it's really good and entertaining. I just want them to try something different, because every year you get the more out there songs, but they always get penalised. They never do well. I feel like the Swedish public could do with being a little more open-minded about what it chooses. You have this straight down the line, really reliable, really successful pop that does well with juries and does well in the contest every year. And for that, it does its job. I would just love to see something a little left field from Sweden. That would be really refreshing. Okay, Estilal. I put it next to Melfest because I think it gets a lot of the same things right that Melfest gets right. The big place it misses out on is that for whatever reason, it's not producing winners, and it's not producing like top 5 competitors for the most part. That was the same this year. I liked Bridges and they got the maximum from it, but that was really performing at like the ceiling of what it could get. That song was never going to go any higher in Scoreboard than it did. I don't think I changed the format, but I wonder whether there's something I can do with selecting the songs to maybe get 1 or 2 more winning contenders. Obviously, there's an element of randomness to that. We are not seeing winner potential from Estilal right now. That's what needs to change. So that's why, for me, at the moment, it can't go higher than B tier. I have one question for the organisers of Pabandom Is Now a Joke. Sorry for butchering the pronunciation. Why is it so big? Why are there so many heats? It makes no sense to me. And it's a similar problem, and I'll talk about the same thing with Malta in a bit. There's too much going on here. You can slim it down, because to be honest, the heats were not very good. They were low on quality. You did not need that many songs. So cut it down, have semi-finals and a final. You'll save money and you'll get better shows out of it, in my opinion. I think also another thing that has to change, tiebreaker. Why is it jury and not televote? I recognise that got us Monica this year as their act, which is an excellent choice, but it really doesn't sit well in my mouth. And more on this later as well, that sometimes a jury overrules the public in national finals. It's different at Eurovision, but in national finals, for me, the televote should always be king. So it's going in B tier, just based on the quality of the songs once you get to that final, but there is a lot you need to do before then. You're on the right lines. It's starting to make things happen, but just needs to be tightened up a little bit. Ireland. What are we going to do with you? Like, what are we going to do with you, Ireland? Eurosong, it's so bad. It's so bad. No one likes it. No one enjoys it. We watch it because we have to. And it's just so frustrating because RTE could do so much better than this. The production value is so poor. I think having it attached to the Late Late Show is a mistake and needs to be undone. The other thing is, I don't really understand why it happened when it was so clear, to me at least, and I'd love to hear from Irish fans about this. It was clear from the start that RTE had a clear preference, and that was for Wild Youth. And if that's the case, then why didn't you just internally select them? There is no shame in cancelling a national selection because you have the song you want. It saves everyone a bunch of time. Better, to be honest, than go through all the motions for essentially no reason. I thought Connolly was robbed. I thought the other songs weren't good. I thought the voting system sucked because it gave not enough power to the televote. There's just so much wrong here. And to be honest, I'm seeing the same attitude in Ireland that we've seen in the UK for a number of years. You bring nothing, you give nothing, and then you get outraged when people don't vote for it. You didn't deserve to qualify for the final. The attitude is totally wrong. The Irish fans, who are some of the best fans, deserve so much better than this. Change it, scrap it, I don't care. Just do something, anything else other than this. D tier, and if there was a tier below D tier, that's where they would be going. Okay. Donsk MGP. If SD Lowell was like good mid, this is like bad mid. Like really, really bad mid. They're changing it around this year a little bit. They're changing the venue and stuff to something smaller, which is desperately needed. This is just not a good show, and it didn't have good songs. And the voting system meant that the televote favourite was punished, and I don't like that. I just think there's so much potential, and part of the reason why this is going in D tier is for Denmark, there is no excuse. You know, like Danes are fuming about this. I'll put some screenshots on screen of my friend V and what she said when I asked her about Danish MGP, and I completely agree with her. There is so much potential here, an amazing music industry. You've got Sweden next door, who is absolutely pumping out winning potential year on year, and it's like, how are you not doing better? You have everything there, everything you need, and you still produce absolute nothingnesses. Sort it out, Denmark. You're going in D tier, and I'm disappointed in you. Okay, while we're doing Scandinavia, let's talk about Norway. This is like everything that Danish MGP wishes it could be. The songs are great. The format is weird, but we'll come to that. I think this is one of the best national finals that's out there at the minute. It's got some serious problems, though. Why would you let artists use auto-tune in a national final? Makes zero sense. Why would you have this weird, tiered knockout thing, which just causes us all trauma and stress? I think I would keep the number of songs. I would keep doing what they're doing in terms of selection. Don't get me wrong. The format is good as it is, but I would change the semi-finals format to make them a bit more traditional, and I would remove the auto-tune. That's what's keeping this out of S tier. That auto-tune rule is ridiculous. You should never be using auto-tune in a live performance, especially not in the national selection when you're not going to have it actually at Eurovision. So ditch that and you'll be an S tier, but for now it's A tier for Norway. Okay, we're going to talk about Poland, and guys, we're going to have to put aside for a minute that we all know Booty was a masterpiece. I'm not going to challenge that. I know Booty was a masterpiece as well, but it finished bottom, so that's where we're going to have to leave it. This national final, unfortunately, I can't talk about it without talking about what happened around it. The fact is, the conspiracy theories about this are probably true. It is absolutely true that Blanca had links to the jury that then gave her 12 points and mysteriously voted down Gladiator. It is absolutely true that there were members of the jury who'd made homophobic comments about Jan. At the same time, we have to do what Eurofans can't do and just move on. And if I just talk about the quality of this national final, even with those things aside, it's still a disaster. Outside of those two songs, everything was terrible, except Booty, obviously. It was just not good. Even solo was not good, and it went down terribly when it was selected. That said, Blanca, I actually have a lot of time for her. She's a really nice person. So I feel a bit bad saying that I really didn't like her national final performance. Honestly, scrap it. Scrap it and go internal, because this was a disaster. The whole thing was a farce. It felt like a sham. Whether it was or not, that's what it felt like, and the reputation of it is damaged as a result. So ditch it, go internal, give it a couple of years, and then revisit the idea. Right now, for me, it's a D tier. Okay, let's talk about everyone's least favourite money laundering operation, which is Selecția Națională in Romania. This was a disaster. This was a complete disaster, and there's so little good to say about it, other than, Teodor did his best. Teodor did his best, and no one else did. The show was really, really poor. The number of votes cast in it was really, really low, which shows how little interest there is. They should cancel this, whether they stay on or not. If they do, and I hope they do, go internal so you have at least a little bit of money to spend on the staging. There's currently allegations flying around that Teodor had as little as 80 euros to spend. 80 euros on his staging. So why are you holding a national final other than to launder loads of money? The whole thing's a farce. D tier, if there was a tier below it, then that would be where this went. Honestly, you did nothing right. Congratulations, TVR. You've ruined everything. I think I'm about to upset a few people with this next one. We need to talk about Sanremo, guys. And I don't know if you're going to like what I have to say, because I can't watch all that. I can't watch 5, 6, 7 hours, night after night after night. It's too much. Don't get me wrong. I am grateful to Sanremo for all it's done for Eurovision, but it could be half the time and have all the same things in it. Obviously, the songs are great. I'm not disputing that. Everyone knows that. The Italian music industry is great. They get lots of their big stars to participate. But I just cannot watch 20 plus hours for one national final. I will go insane. I can't do it. I cannot stay up that late. I just won't. So that is going to impact the tier list. The other thing is, vote for a woman. Please, Italy, vote for any woman. I don't mind who. Just vote for a woman. At least once. I'm going to put this in C tier. That is harsh, and I know it is, but if you just never vote for a woman and you're going to make your national final night after night after night of 6-7 hour shows, I'm sorry, it's too much of a downside for me. Again, I should remind you, this is my personal list. For me, that much time is important. It's too much time to spend watching a national final, especially on consecutive nights. So sorry, but it's a C tier for you, Sanremo. Okay, I have a confession. I love Matt Black. I think Matt Black is great. In fact, it is slightly embarrassing how much I like Matt Black. But why the is Matt Black winning the jury vote in any national final ever? Malta needs to have a look at that, because that deserves a scientific study as to how Matt Black can come top of that jury vote. I like the Malta ESC for a whole variety of reasons, but the thing is, it's just too big. You don't need quarterfinals. You're an island of 600,000 people, and you're going to burn out artists and make them turn off from the contest and not want to participate in future years, because you're going to burn through them too fast and you're going to run out of people. So I changed that. You also can't have a contest where the rules are so confusing that you accidentally disqualify the song that was probably going to win. Other than that, the quality is mid. It's really, really mid. It's kind of like another mini Melfest in a lot of senses, but it's just fix your format, fix your rules, and fix your juries, because there is no way that Matt Black should be winning a jury vote. Okay, the main purpose of this segment was mostly just to tell you how much I love Matt Black, but also Malta is going in C tier. It can't go any higher. There's too much wrong with it. Okay, Benidorm Fest is amazing. I'm going to say that right now. I love Benidorm Fest, and I cannot believe I'm saying that, because a few years ago, Spain probably would have been ranked as my least favourite Eurovision country. Benidorm Fest is so good. They get practically everything right. The song selections are amazing. The system, as it is, although I have some problems with it, rewards diversity. It makes interesting songs do well. Like Blanca Paloma, for example. I think there is one thing that really needs changing about this, and that is they need to check that the singers can actually sing live. Because there was this national final had some real big, oh girl, give us nothing kind of moments. I would like to avoid that in future years. Maybe have some sort of pre-audition that they have to do just to make sure they can actually sing when they're not in the studio. Other than that, I have a problem with the voting system, as I said, just because the juries are way overpowered. Even though it's 50% juries, because you can get more than 80 points from the jury, and the maximum you can get from each of the public vote and the demoscopic jury is 40 each. The juries essentially have more than 50% of the power. They have 50% of the votes, but more than 50% of the power, and that needs to change. Other than that, there is so little I can find fault with at Benidorm Fest. It's amazing. So it's A tier. Okay, so what I love about Festival de Canção is that it just produces entries that are aggressively Portuguese. Ai Coração, Saudade, Love Is On My Side, Amar Pelos Dois. These are songs that really, like, I hear them and I think, yes, this is extremely Portuguese. And also credit to them for using their native language so much over English. The only problem I have with Festival de Canção, well, only two problems I have. Number one, the songs aren't completely to my taste. But it's just my personal taste, and there's a lot I like about it, and it does still produce quality, and they've really started getting results in the last few years, but it's just not quite my taste. The second thing is that I don't like the voting system, because again, it doesn't empower the televotes enough, in my opinion. So even though it's going in B tier overall, I gotta say this is like a B+++. It is as close as you can get to A tier without being an A tier. Just because the music isn't personally my taste, that's the only thing keeping out of it. Dora. Generic. I listened through all the songs again to make this video, and I learned nothing. I forgot all of them basically as soon as I heard them. The only two that stood out were obviously the one that won, Mama's Chair, and the song that finished second, and for the wrong reasons. Because seriously, those Nevera dance moves were the most go girl, give us nothing thing I have ever seen. I think that might be the biggest flop this year in terms of from studio version to live. It was so bad. And it says everything about the national final that it still finished second. I think the fact that it generates zero interest among Eurofans, well, not zero, but very little interest among Eurofans, it drowns beneath the other national finals for me. I really didn't enjoy the songs. I thought a lot of them were really unambitious and generic. Even though there was, one really good song in there, it saves it and hides a lot of what was really bad about this. So it's got to go D tier for me. It's not as bad as Eurosong. It's not as bad as the Polish national final, but it's just not good. I'm sorry. So it's D tier. Was it just me, or was Germany kind of good this year? I mean, it wasn't bad. I mean, Lord of the Lost, I thought were great and didn't deserve to do so badly in the actual show. They got that right, at least. The voting system meant that acts that did big with the televote actually had that reflected in their score, and that was good. One big bone to pick. Well, two, actually. Some of those songs really fell flat live. Patty Gurdy, Melodies of Hope. I loved the studio version, but it just didn't quite come together live, in my opinion. The TikTok idea was terrible and should never come back. Never have a TikTok entry. Straight to Eurovision Dungeon. Hell, hate it. The third thing, why did the juries push the most mid pop song ever if it weren't for the fact that they'd made it so the public vote was effectively more powerful than the juries? Then they would have had an absolute nothing burger at Eurovision and done even worse than they already did. So for that reason, it's going in C tier. You've made progress, Germany, because you would have been in D tier a couple of years ago, but you have a lot still to do. Let's talk about Supernova, and first a moment of silence for Marcus Reaver. Okay, moment over. Now let's talk about the fact that this format doesn't work. You don't qualify every single year. Try something else. Anything else. Please. This national final, don't get me wrong, it's not bad. And Sudden Lights definitely deserve better than they got this year. The song quality, in general, it's okay. They get some good artists in. They have some songs which are fine to listen to. But it's just so clearly not working. Aminata is not coming back to save you. You have to try something else, just because it is just not producing any success. And I know that that is not what the contest is about. It's not all about success, but I would love to see Latvia back in the final, and what they're doing at the moment just clearly isn't cutting it. Just on the basis of the fact that this national final is not producing results, it has to be a C tier. I like some things about it, but Latvia, you just have to try something else. On pretty much every metric, Moldova's national final should not be good. It has really poor song quality for the most part. Not all, though, as we'll get onto in a minute. It has terrible production quality, and they get hardly any submissions. I'm talking like low double figures every year. But somehow, something happens from the bizarre open auditions to Eurovision where you end up with a great song most years and a performance that really works and great staging. So they're doing something right. That's the first thing. The second thing is the auditions are an absolute joy, and much in the same way San Marino is. I personally now really look forward to what the captain, the king, the legend, Tudor Bumbats is going to bring to the auditions each year. He is a true institution of Eurovision, and I love that man so much. At the same time, you have on the flip side bizarre acts like Sasha Bognabov, where I can't even read the names of his songs because they are so inappropriate. And please do not Google them because you will end up on a list. It may be bizarre, but it has to go in B tier because it works. It works for whatever reason. They pull it together at the last minute. They get something that usually qualifies, usually does pretty well. So congrats, I guess, Moldova. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to rank this next one quite low because this year was a really disappointing year for me. And that's Song for Captain, which in past years has got some really good songs come out of it, like Dathi Frere and Hattori and acts like this, who I really love. The problem is this year, I just felt the quality of the songs dropped so much. And it was a really poor use of some really talented artists. I think Dilljal is a perfect example of this. I think she's a really, really good singer. I just think that she could have had a better song, and it didn't showcase her abilities to the fullest. So what I'm going to say is C tier, but they can and should do better. And I hope that this year is just an off year and we're back to a higher level in future, and then it's not going to become a trend, because this was really disappointing for me this year. Okay, 2 left, and the first one is San Marino. Now, I got to tell you, I love this national final. It is genius because it extracts a 5 or 6 figure sum of money from Europe's most deluded people, and that is a vital public service. The open auditions for this are a complete treasure. You have to watch them, and if you didn't this year, I am begging you to go back and spend a few hours doing it, because you get some gloriously awful crap. But the thing is that this is so clever. The whole setup is so clever because it funds their entry and produces a national final that gets 700 submissions. You know, most countries don't get that many. The Netherlands this year coming has got 600. It is amazing that such a small country can produce a national final that generates this much interest. The thing is, this national final, it's not about the winner, and it's not about what's bad or wrong about it. It just really mustn't change because it's genius. It is, for me, an absolute highlight of the year. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm sticking it in A tier. I'm sticking it in A tier because it is lovably awful. But they really mustn't change a single thing, because if they do, it will lose its magic. Keep extracting money from deluded idiots and everyone will be happy. Just please don't turn this into a serious competition. Otherwise, it'll ruin its magic. But yes, A tier, hate me, I don't care. Okay, you might have noticed there's not been a single national final in S tier yet. That is changing now because last but certainly not least, we're going to talk about Finland, UMK. Now, I would only consider putting a national final in S tier if it did everything right. And UMK does everything right. The song selection is brilliant. It's varied. It's interesting. They're all really strong songs and they all perform great live. They were all staged well. The arena that they chose was perfect. They are changing it this year, but hopefully it'll stay just as good. The success that these artists got out of this as well. You had several top 10 hits in Finland, and they were all the songs that were sung in Finnish. So you've got this massive outlet with a load of potential for artists singing in their native language, and that is almost unique to most of the continent. Melfest produces a lot of hits, but it produces a lot of hits in English. Finland, for whatever reason, has got this perfect formula, which means the English songs don't even do that well in the charts. It's the native language songs that get rewarded, and that for me is a really special thing. I think we're about to see a golden age for Finland because they have put all the building blocks in place to make that happen. I'm going to stop talking about that now because there is going to be a full video on this subject in the next few weeks on why I think Finland is going to win Eurovision in the next 5 years, and you should subscribe to make sure you don't miss that. But now, UMK is going straight into S tier. It stands alone as the best of the best when it comes to national finals in 2023. So that is all of the national finals from 2023. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed putting it together, and I cannot wait to share more with you guys. So please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Follow me on my socials there in the description. We're going to be back in a couple of weeks with a video about Finland, unsurprisingly, and then we have a video about Sweden coming as well. And there is going to be so much more as we get into the 24 season. I cannot wait to share it all with you. So take care, and for now, peace.